Thank you for doing this interview with me. Can I ask you about where you were born?
Sure. I was born in Abington, Pennsylvania, which is just north of Philadelphia.
Any pets?
Well, let's see. Through my youth, quite a few. My mother tended to like cats, and we usually had like two cats around and one or two dogs for most of the time. We traveled a fair bit. I was born in Abington, but my dad was a military officer for, I guess, until I was in 5th grade. So we'd move around a lot. So we had some pets then. Once my parents retired, then we added some horses to them.
What about the members of your family? How many people did you have in your family?
I had my mom, my dad, and a sister. My dad has since passed away. But
what schools did you attend?
well, let's see. When we were moving around in the military, a bunch of my elementary schools, primarily in a bunch of different schools, from Louisiana to Georgia to Alaska. When my dad retired, we settled in eastern Pennsylvania again, so I went to public school out there until my sophomore year in high school. Went to a private school for a few years, and then did my undergraduate at a place called Sarah Lawrence College. It's a small liberal arts college about the same size as Catawba, north of New York City. And then I did a PhD degree at Penn State University.
I imagine that must have been interesting having basically a sampling of all sorts of different elementary and high schools.
Yeah, it was very different because actually when we were in Georgia, I actually attended a sort of a rural school. He was posted away from an Army base. So some of the times I'd be in Army-based schools, which were very different from whatever the sort of local civilian population was. And especially in Georgia, it was a very small. We were in the mountains of northern Georgia, so that was.
Yeah, my dad used to work on an Air Force base, so it
okay.
is rather different.
Yeah. Did you ever make it to Elmendorf Air Force Base or up in Alaska?
No.
No.
In high school, what college did you think that you would go to, and what did you think that you would major in?
There was a time in college that I thought about majoring in music, and that's actually what led me to Sarah Lawrence, because they had a strong music program and a fine arts program, but more generally a good liberal arts education. I was interested in math and I was good at it, so I thought that I might actually end up doing a dual major in music and math. But then I sort of let music go by and concentrated on math. So I looked at Sarah Lawrence, I looked at a place called Brandeis University in Boston, Tufts University in Boston, and they were sort of on the large side, and then a very small place called Marlborough College in Vermont, along with Sarah Lawrence.
What are some of the most interesting places that you've traveled to?
Probably Alaska is the most interesting one that I remember, just because it's so different from the lower 48. I have not been abroad other than Mexico and Canada since I was 2 years old. My dad was actually stationed in Vietnam for a year in 1957, and my mother took my sister and I, and we traveled around Europe for a year while he was in Vietnam, but I was too young to remember most of that. So
yeah. I've been to Germany once, but the only thing I remember is that I didn't like the hot dogs and I liked to chase the pigeons everywhere.
Okay.
All right, one last question. If you could go back in time and change one thing, what would it be?
Wow. I could go back in time and change one thing. It'd be sort of grandiose, but in my life or in history are you looking for?
In your life.
In my life. Actually, there are times that I think I might have chosen a different profession. Sort of when I was in graduate school, I found that I was sort of interested in medicine and emergency medicine in particular. So as a result, I was a part-time casual paramedic for about 20 years, in addition to doing my math. And probably if I had it all to do all over again, I might actually have majored in medicine and gone into emergency medicine rather than mathematics, but it's not really a deep regret. I'm happy where I am, but that's a change I might have made.
Thank you so much for doing this to me.
All right.